All right. What is going on, everyone? And welcome to tonight's live stream. Let me just pull up a few minutes early. We'll get started in just a few seconds. Pull up the futures for right now. So if you guys are just tuning in, make sure to hit the thumbs up button on the stream. It gets more awesome ideas into the chat, which is what we're all about here. Looking at futures right now, just down a little bit, not too bad. They're kind of just opened up, down, kind of just jockeying around, not too much though. Anything under like a 0.5%, in my opinion, on these three main kind of things we're looking at, isn't much to worry about. VIX is up. I would say VIX over 25 maybe gets a little bit interesting in terms of that's just kind of, volatility, kind of potentially a fear index. So, we start seeing the VIX going up above 25, then it's something to watch for the overall market kind of maybe heading down. But we'll see. I mean, we're looking right now at SPY. This is taking a look at the S&P. This has just been on a tear. I mean, it finished up. It had a little bit of a dip, actually, if you go back to Friday. A little bit of a dip, but it closed up. It pushed up and went, green on the day, nicely. And so, finishing strong. I mean, everything is still just looking, very, very bullish right now still. Although, we are hitting all-time highs again. And every time you hit all-time highs, how much further can it go? We'll have to keep watching and see. BKYI has been something that I've been watching. Security system, that's potentially going to be a hot sector as well right now, or cybersecurity is just kind of been one of those things recently that's been pretty hot. So BKYI is one that we definitely have to pay. Yeah, here it is. Here's what at least I have. I mean, I like it down as under 4. Honestly, is probably fine. Under 4 with ads all the way down to around 3-ish would be the lowest I would probably play it. I mean, it has this little dip down here. But it's a recent reverse split too, I believe, which means the float's tightened up. So if we take a peek, actually, let's take a peek at BKYI. So there's a link in the description of the videos, I believe, for this if you want to check it out, or just type in finviz.com. Gives some good information. So 6.8 million float, is essentially how many shares are available to trade. It's pretty low. Under 10 million, I think, is that shows that that's where you can kind of see these spikes. That's where you have that kind of potential. So BKY has that type of history. Has that I played it before, so I do like where it's at. And so we'll see if it gaps up come Monday. That could be an interesting one for sure. Let's see. I'm not sure. I honestly how this week's gonna go. I would say we need some of these. We need some red days. I mean, we're looking at futures right now. They're a little bit red, but not too bad. We need some red. I mean, if we don't see some red, I mean, we are seeing stimulus news, and now we're talking about Biden's. I think estimation here is 2 to 3 trillion for his first stimulus deal. First we'll see if there's more. So we'll have to see what exactly. I think on Thursday, I believe was last I saw. Thursday we find out more information on what is in that potential package. So that's going to be potentially a big day to that going forward. But do we see people talking about corrections and things like that? So do I see a correction coming, or a crash like we saw back in March? No, I mean, we're not going to do this again unless something crazy happens. Unless, like they say, unless you have a black swan, which the black swan back then was people were talking about oh, we're going to see a recession in 2020. Well, we got the black swan to kind of send us over the top, right? And that was the whole pandemic. So unless we get something else, which maybe there's something brewing, who knows? I don't see us. I mean, I can see these types of dips where we take a nice little pullback, a little correction. But I would assume these get bought up, especially with stimulus, especially with money getting pumped in. People getting those $2,000 checks, or I think they're supposed to be, since people got $600, I think it's going to be $1,400. So they're going to say it's to $2,000, but it's really just going to be an additional 14 on top of the 6 that people just got. So we'll see, and we'll see if that's given to, because I know that they left out like certain people, like certain demographics, like dependents, adult dependents, get left out, and we'll see what happens. SNDL is going to be hot this week. I think that's going to be a fun one to be watching. I wouldn't be surprised if that one gaps up. We'll see. I actually need to get a haircut. I haven't gotten one. That was like one of the biggest things on the list for this weekend. I just didn't do it. SNDL. Let's take a look at SNDL. So this is one of the cannabis stocks that I've been at least in. I like it. As long as it stays over 60 cents, I like it. The only thing with these types of stocks is that I wouldn't get too concerned with like the day-to-day as much as that is going to be, people are always going to be freaking out because they're in too much. Then don't go in too much. I think there's a lot of room for this one. I think SNDL has a lot of room. I think we can eclipse this 95. If we can eclipse this recent high over $1 is what I want to see. But it may take some time. It may not just happen this week. As much as we want to see that, as much as you see these types of penny stocks going crazy, SNDL, let's take a peek at what SNDL's float is. SNDL's float is a little bit bigger, so it's a little thicker, as we say. So it's going to take a little more to move it. A 400, plus million float. Yeah, okay, the stock's under $1, so that does help in terms of, okay, you can, size up. People can play with size here, but still, 400 million float is still a lot. So, SNDL's got to pop up over, it looks like over 80. I think 80 cents will be the next area. 75 cents, 80 cents will be the next areas we want to watch. And we got to 74, I think, one of these days, I think on Thursday. So over 60 stays fun. If we go back below 60, I think this is a decent spot to be loading up. I would maybe just be, personally, we'll see what happens. If we can, I'm looking to take some profits along the way, but then to a degree, I'm going to be holding a decent chunk of shares. So I might be kind of range trading it. So if SNDL pushes up towards like 75, 80 cents, I might take some shares off. And then if it comes back down, sub 75, I might buy those shares back and just kind of play it in a range, holding like a core share size, that I want to at least ride up for a bigger move. So it's one that's I'm definitely just playing, the whole probably the whole week. We'll see what happens. But at the same thing with SNDL though. I seen people say, I saw some insider stuff on SNDL as well on Twitter. We'll see. I don't think it actually was like an official insider buy. We'll see if there's an update to the filings, SEC filings this week. We'll see come Monday. Because it is a Canadian company. So, yeah, I like it. We'll see what happens. But on top of that, there's actually HEXO is another one I'm not in right now, but another one of those cannabis plays. If this thing pulls back, I like it. Although, honestly, I think under 5. Look to the left with a lot of these cannabis plays. There's chart range. These aren't the best companies, but with this kind of heating up, I like them. So the one that I'm in that I have money parked in my longer term portfolio, and I'm just going to kind of ride out for like the next couple of months in my anticipation, is Cgc Canopy Growth. This one's been popping up. I think I bought in down here. I didn't buy in enough, honestly. If we get a dip, I'll buy it. But we've got a gap from like under 28, like 9. This thing can gap down towards like 28, 27. So if it fills this gap to the downside, then I'll be buying into that on CGC. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But it bounced off the 50 SMA, 50 period simple moving average on the 1 year, 1 day chart very nicely, which is solid support for right now. So I'm holding this guy for like 50 plus is what I want to see this year. Maybe next year. We'll see. We'll see how long it takes. But if we hit 50 plus, I'm taking profits on this guy. That's just my anticipation. But we have to understand that we don't have, is the MORE Act, which is like the whole cannabis or marijuana related stuff going on in Congress, is that realistically going to get passed through the Senate? Like right now, is that the number one priority right now? No. So, give it some time with these cannabis plays. Okay, let's see. Congrats. I appreciate it. The whole it's been a fun time. Now taking it to get to 25K, really the past week was kind of crazy. Now it's at like 27.5 or something like that, whatever I'm at. You just see how it scales. You just see how the game kind of you can scale it. And as you get better at it, you start to see things a little bit easier. And so now I'm kind of noticing stuff and I'm sizing up better and I can take advantage of things and I'm getting in at lower entries. I'm getting better entries, not doing stupid stuff. So, you just stacking the small wins. It starts to add up. So it's fun. And especially this time of year, traditionally is a hot time for penny stocks, which is mostly what I trade if you guys aren't familiar. But also, on top of that, the market's been super hot too. So, on top of, a lot of the stocks I generally like to trade being super hot, look at the market. It's just been going up the past few months. So, it's been somewhat easy in a sense. Not saying that everything you buy goes up, but it's been easier relative than it has been this. Like the summer, I struggled a lot. So it's all about pushing through. VISL, I think, was catching some attention last week, right? So I played VISL up here. I played VISL up there. Then it pulled back. VISL, if it comes down here towards like under 150, seems like a decent spot for me. But if we zoom out, it's a drone play. It's got resistance right here at this 200 SMA. So the reason why I like these two lines, the orange and the blue, they're areas of support and resistance. So on the daily chart, I look at them. So 50 was kind of holding up generally when you break above support for the for VISL. Bounced off that, then it got rejected up here at this 200. So over $2, we got to see over $2 and kind of a confirmed open and close above that level. We got there in after hours, I believe. If I go to the 4-hour chart, we can see what's happened in after hours and pre-market hours. Yeah, we got there briefly in after hours, but On the daily chart, we haven't really broken above that. So over $2, things get going. But this is a great pattern just overall. I mean, look at what we have. Prior history of spikes, right? A prior spike up, what is this? Up towards like $9, right? Then it comes down, right? Okay, you don't want to be playing this stock when it's downtrending because it's tough. Could it spike? Yes. But it's tough to kind of pick, where am I going to enter here on VISL? Like how am I going to add in? How am I going to average up or average down into this play? It's tough. And then you're kind of buying into something that's just downtrending that has no attention on it, And that was what we saw with a lot of small caps in general in this August-September timeframe, which is good to know for, further years next year, because now we know, hey, maybe it's time to find some other plays, large cap stocks, find some other positions that might make some sense rather than a lot of these small caps in this time frame. Let them bottom out, which is good. Let them get a reset. Chart kind of resets, as we say. It starts bottoming out, and the past few months, we start to see it's holding up here at around just over $1. It's holding up support, and now it's putting in higher lows. We go back here, we have a low at 110, then back in here, a low at like 115, then here a low at the 50 SMA around 125. So we're stacking higher lows, and then it's building its uptrend back on up. So I like that. Dips on VISL I think are solid, especially VISL likes to run with UAVS, another drone play. We can pull up UAVS and DGLY. DGLY is the police riot cam play. UAVS spiked up big time, I believe, back when DGLY was running too, when we had a lot of riots. So we have to keep an eye on that stuff as well. UAVS, let's take a look at how UAVS is kind of crazy. This thing, I love this pattern where it pushes up, hits a high. So if I'm not in this play back in here, I don't chase this type of stuff. I mean, people do, and you can do very well. It's just not my style. I don't chase this thing up here. But what I like to do is let it see, I didn't play it, but let it come back down, build some support, which we now kind of saw consolidating, building some support, and kind of putting in higher lows, and then boom. Many times we see a U-shaped pattern right back up and make a new high, and that's what it did. So that was kind of a beautiful play for someone who was kind of catching this reversal on UAVS. Boom. Catch the reversal, bring it back on up. Okay. Ppbt. That was the previous. Okay. Ppbt. Previously K2V. Purple Bio. I remember when they came out, they're saying that they're changing their name. It's kind of funny. This is actually looking decent. So again, kind of somewhat bottoming out. So we don't want to see it making a new low, ideally, right? So let's put in a horizontal line right here. So it's got some support, right, where it came down. Some of these wicks this past couple weeks, right, down in here, at the end of December, early January, we saw it come down to about 370 or so. 366 was the prior wick down. Okay, so it's in this range. I mean, until it breaks back above and holds above this 460, kind of barely did back in here, but it's in a good spot. I would say under the 50 SMA is a good spot to add. Now, I personally, just my style, I wouldn't want to be holding this thing, below, because then you're kind of buying into something that just continues to downtrend. So, ultimately, do I play a lot of stocks that are bottomed out that are ultimately downtrending on a larger scale? Yes, but on, somewhat of a shorter scale, I want to see higher lows. I want to see built in. Which for right now, this looks pretty good until it, if it does break down below, that wouldn't be ideal. But it's getting quiet. So the past few months, it's been quiet, which is good. I like when stuff gets quiet. Prior runner, gotten quiet. Now this thing could be setting up for another move. So I kind of like that. Everyone's ever see a lot of people saying RYCEY, right? Rolls Royce, I believe. How is this bad boy holding up? Yeah, I mean, it's sitting in the same spot. I mean, there must be somebody who's talking about Rolls Royce, because I've been getting a lot of comments on it. So I never understand why, to be honest. It's an OTC play, I believe, but it's sitting fine. I mean, it's down here. It's bottoming out. It's hitting this bottom area that down under 150 a couple of times. So let's see if it holds up around 150 again. I don't want to see it go below 138, because then again, what are you doing? You're buying into a stock that's breaking down to new lows. So it's the same thing of breaking out to new highs, the way I kind of see it. Stock, right? If you're someone who's looking to short or go short, buy puts, whatever, why would you sell a stock or go short a stock that's breaking out to new highs, right? Because it's got, it's breaking through resistance. It could go further. That's what Tesla's been doing. Tesla's been crazy, right? Look at Tesla. As much as you want to say the valuation is ridiculous, and as much as you want to say, this stock has no reason to be this high. I mean, look at it. It's breaking out of new highs, and look at this thing. It's just continuously crushing, continuously pushing up. Who knows? It might hit $1,000. This is like now post split, right, or whatever it was. So look at this thing. So the same thing with a downtrending stock is that you many times will see, once it breaks through support to the downside, it could just keep going down. And then once it kind of finds its area of support, same way on the opposite side with a stock like this, until it finds a new resistance point. Like maybe Tesla comes up and hits 1,000 and it just hits it a couple times, doesn't break through, but it kind of bounces off that level, pulls back, pushes back up, hits it, comes back. Then you say, okay, well, that's your resistance. So if you're looking to short it, shorting it up around that level of resistance, looking for it to drop back. And obviously, if it breaks through the resistance and starts breaking out, that's where you cut your loss for a smaller loss. So it's the exact same thing on the flip side with a lot of the stocks that I like to play. Kern is another one of those, I believe, that is... Kern's been looking really good. A lot of these, I want to say it had news as well. It had recent news, but Kern's been putting in higher lows. It's pushing up. Now it's getting a little, to me, for my entry right now, a little overextended. Although, still, that said, I still think this thing it's breaking through the 200 SMA. So breaking over 5. Now if it can hold above 5, that would be ideal. Kern has some range. I mean, I can see this thing making a bigger push back on up. So Kern, I do like. Ultimately, if I'm not in, for my style, I'm not going to play this thing. I would be looking to be getting in down here. But up here, if you're in it, ride this thing up. Higher lows being put in. It's probably going to have a pullback at some point. Watch. If the overall market, let's take a peek again at the futures. If the overall market looks like it has a little pullback, now if it's not down too much, I wouldn't be too concerned. But if the overall market's down 0.5%, 1%, day or two this week, it needs a pullback. Could it come down more? Yeah. Then maybe this type of, Kern pulls back as well. So yeah, that's what we got to watch with a lot of these stocks. I think this could be a good buy week. Personally, I don't want to, who knows how it's going to go. We'll see if this keeps up, but I think it's going to be a good buy week if we do get some pullbacks, which I think are much needed. Appreciate the donation. New Swing Trades. What do you think about CTRM? Let's take a peek at CTRM. Here's what CTRM, right? CTRM, we zoom in. Okay, so it came down to the 50 SMA. And that's actually, it's came down towards that support line. The only problem here with CTRM is if we go to the Seeking Alpha, CTRM is like a shipping stock. And so they traditionally did a direct offering. So these types of stocks, they continuously do offering, and CTRM is kind of known as well for doing these offerings. So ideally, right, they just did one, then they did another one, I think on Friday, which is why we pulled back and gapped down. So it could be a decent buy, but you have to be careful with these things because the second this stock starts pushing back up, this company likes to do this stuff. So you got to be careful and be cautious. It's the same thing with like Ship and Tops the past year. They haven't been doing one recently. I believe they aren't able to do an offering right now. But those stocks in the past, they would do offerings all the time. So this stock comes down. As long as it holds this blue line on the daily chart, the 50-period simple moving average, or MA50 on Webull, which is sitting right around the 16.5 area, I think it's okay. And it has a gap back up here to 22. So just take your small wins here on this one. I wouldn't be looking for a massive move. Obviously, we had a dip. Take your small wins on this one. I'm not a huge fan of playing these things because of the offerings. I just don't want to be caught in that stuff. That's how I play it. ACTC SPAC. Let's take a peek at ACTC. Appreciate the donation. ACTC. I'll tell you guys the SPACs I like. This thing got some attention on Friday. Popped up, but a lot of these SPACs. We can put in a quick an uptrend line. So here's your uptrend line. Ideally, holding that line would be great. If it comes back down to the downside, you have support down here around 11. So you have maybe another $1 or so downside. It did come up in the after hour session as well. But these SPACs have been super, super hot. The ones I personally like, I like this one. But what I like to see with these SPACs is I like to just say, you can honestly pre-merger a lot of these SPACs. The way I would personally recommend trading them is maybe you have a core share size and you want to buy and hold and not have to worry about it. But if you want to make some more money or you want to actively trade them, selling into these spikes, because they do spike. And so it's like if you're watching them and there's no news on them, there's no recent news, and they dip down 5, 6, 7, 8% intraday, which you can see when the overall market pulls back, a lot of times these SPACs pull back. And one of those was IPOC, which is now COLV, Clove. This stock would have these crazy wick downs. Like, for example, here's one. It came down here to about 14 and then recovered, beautifully right back up intraday. So anytime you have kind of crazy dips or crazy red days, that's like a buying opportunity just for a flip for, a 5%, pretty much intraday or, within the week, you can flip those shares for 5% pretty consistently. So I personally am holding a share size. I have COLV. I have GIK is one that I think I have as well that I bought. GIK is one that I have as well. On top of that, I have GIX. I think I have GIX well in the long term. And then I have GHIV, which is one as well. SPAC play, fairly under 15, I think is still fair, right? And where it's at. I bought into some of these dips, and it recovers very nicely, right after. So these kind of dip reactions are oversold type of opportunities. I like these SPAC plays, especially especially for even just scalps like that in a sense. You see the thing going down. It's tough to do, but you see the thing going down 10, 20%, or no, 5, 10% intraday. The market's just like down 0.5%, barely down. It's a dip buy. It usually recovers. ACST. He says, I'm getting an error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth stream. Hopefully that's not that bad. Hopefully everything's okay. ACST is actually one that I played a little bit this past week. It kind of messed with me, so I cut it, so I'm no longer actually in. I'm personally still putting in higher lows. It's still putting in, uptrending, so I like ACST. It hit 61, so let's see. If we look back to the left, what kind of range? Oh, here it is. There's this pretty big gap. So the gap's up towards 65. So, okay, 65 cents I think could, it's getting close to filling the gap up towards 65. After that, this thing could make a shot towards $1. It's got some consolidation, so it's getting into an area where there is some significant resistance up in here over 65 cents. But if it gets, I think it could fill that portion of the gap. Maybe pull back, put in a higher low. If we put in a higher low, like let's say we put in a higher low and hold 50 cents as support now, that would be a good sign for ACST going forward for the next leg up, in my opinion. I know a lot of people have been saying LAC. LIC is one that was on my list and I never actually took the trade because, I just missed it when I was looking at it. So here it is. Let's see. We can get rid of this for right now. This is just like a downtrend line that I put in. I like LIC. $20 will be the first area. I mean, it pretty much came up to $20, but $20 is going to be, it would be the first target. So it's just kind of went straight up. If it pulls back, let's see if it holds support. Maybe it holds support here, right here. This prior high at 17. That would be in my area. I would look for $17 to potentially be the area of support here for LAC. So if it comes back down, a healthy support would be 17 and then make the next move, consolidate here or bounce off the 17 and make the next move up because prior resistance becomes new support as we're now above that area. Shippers have been kind of like, usually it's like November is a period for shippers a lot of times, but they've been heating up. So let's take a peek. ESEA has been one that's definitely been heating up for sure. So let's peek in on this guy, see how it's doing. So it's pushing up. Let's see if we zoom out how much more range. It has a lot of range. It definitely does. But I mean, this is not one that I personally would be looking at. I'd be looking at maybe like SHIP, I believe. Let's take a look at SHIP. Let's see. SHIP, if we zoom in, I mean, these are horrible looking, long-term charts. But look at this, putting in higher lows, uptrending. I played SHIP a couple times, buy this thing on the red days. These are putting in higher lows. I kind of like that. Tops, I believe, went in after hours. I think on Friday, did it? Or it got going a little bit. So tops, take a peek at the 4-hour chart. See what happened in after hours. I feel like I remember seeing something about tops. Yeah, it hit 160 briefly. We're coming back. So yeah, this could be good for the CTRM play. This could be good. This could be a good sign. So buy the dip, but again, understand what CTRM, they'll probably do to their offering the next chance they get, So tops, I think this is good. These are good dip buys, 50 SMA support, so down towards 120. So you're not risking too much to the downside, with shippers. And when they like to move, at least in the past, they've gone nuts. They've gone crazy. NAK, let's take a look at NAK. NAK, I'm getting ready to come back in. I actually was in this guy back in here. I was in it, and I sold into this spike. And then now that it's come back down, if it comes back down sub 35 cents, I'll be starting to buy some NAK. That's at least my plan, personally. TSCRF, the score will benefit from Canada legalizing sports betting. Let's see. This is an OTC play, right? TSCRF. The score meeting. This is looking good. I like this is gonna push up. This looks like it's gonna push up towards 2. This is like that same kind of U-shaped pattern that I like. We make a high, kind of U-shape back on up, make a new high. Now we're making higher low being put in here. Consolidating around 125, pushing up. I like it. I think I'm personally very bullish on online gaming, gambling, sports betting, that stuff. I'm very bullish on that stuff. So, I mean, we can even look at like the leaders in the space, like DK and G, right? DraftKings, even Penn. I think I was looking at DraftKings recently. We can clear up some of these lines and kind of get a sense. There's a lot of these. I think even I forget was ASCE is that an online gaming as well? That's one that I'm looking at too. So we kind of have a rough uptrend right there. We can put in, from some of these highs here. But look, there's our little downtrend roughly. So DraftKings is kind of, forming this little pennant shape look, putting in higher lows, which is a good sign, getting up towards the top end. If we do see a pullback in the market, that would be fine. Let's see, DraftKings comes down a little bit. That could be a good dip buy for a longer term play. But I'm bullish, and if you zoom out and take a broader, look, this is still a bullish looking stock. It'll be a big push up, and then we're kind of in this, range of consolidation. We're getting, more consolidating. We're kind of closing in. And many times when that happens, you're setting the chart up. The chart is setting up for either a short squeeze or a big move in either direction. Now, my take is that I'm, generally I think a lot of people are also bullish on the sector, on the industry going forward, right? So these types of moves tend to break out to the upside. And if we do break out to the upside over 55, then I would think we have a shot to 65 plus, which could be really cool to see for DraftKings. Penn, let's take a look at Penn. Penn's pushing up as well. So Penn keeps pushing up. I think, Penn's making that move up towards, looks like it wants to take a shot at $100. Penn breaks over 100. That could be big, This software is a Weeble's desktop platform. I have, like always, links in the description if you want to check it out. It should be like a sign-up bonus, which is good. I mean, let's see. ONTX. Peeking at ONTX here. This thing is putting in higher lows, hit it almost up to 95, almost $1. Here's this gap, filled the gap pretty much, filled the gap up towards this, $1 area, putting in higher lows. So if this thing does dip down a little more, down towards maybe 50 cents, I would say it's a pretty good buy. But, I don't personally like playing. It's a little bit tougher in terms of managing your risk. So if you want to take a shot at it here, I wouldn't want to see it making, a low going down below this, mid 40 section, mid to low 40 area. Would like to see a higher low, because if we can put in a trend line, a rough these don't have to hold up, but if we put in a trend line, wouldn't want to see it crack below this type of trend line or this 200 SMA. This would just kind of show a healthy sign going forward for ONTX if that's the case. Oh, Neo is an interesting one because Neo had Neo Day. Now we'll see how the market takes this one. They had it right with Nvidia, so we're gonna see how Neo and Nvidia do this coming week. It should be an interesting week to see. I personally, I had a swing position on Neo from post offering. So they did the offering, boom, and I wrote it up here and I sold it on Friday. Now, I didn't sell my long-term position. I have a decent chunk of Neo long, just not going to sell that anytime soon, right? But in the swing trade account, I was like, hey, well, I see a pretty good dip buy opportunity for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. I can make a good 30-40%. And that's what I did. I made a good 30+% on that position. So I can I was like, why not take that? But we'll see. Over $60. I mean, if this thing breaks out over 60, it can be interesting. I would not be surprised to see if we wake up tomorrow morning and see a gap up in pre-market. So, we want to look at is like the 5-minute chart. This different shading is showing me what's happening in after hours. Would not be surprised to see Neo spikes up to like 60 something in the pre-market hours. And then if the overall market's down, like take a peek back at the futures, if the overall gets down, if tech's down big, then I wouldn't be surprised to see, Neo come back down during the day. That's kind of one of those things we'll have to see. Or maybe people don't like it. I think there could be a lot of hype going into this into Neo Day, and based on what they've we've been seeing, especially with the partnership and whatnot and what they have coming out going forward. But we'll see. I know at least I watched, I'm not sure, I'm sure plenty of you guys follow it and at least watch Meet Kevin's videos. I know he wasn't super impressed with what Neo had with what Neo kind of unveiled at Neo Day. Not that it's a bad sign, but he just wasn't super impressed with what they had. Whatever that, if that has any effect on your thoughts. Let's see, let me go back up and scroll through. Sorry if I'm missing some things in the chat. AZRX, low float. Good pipeline. This looks. Let's take a peek. Yeah, this is actually good. I'll put this guy down on my list. I have to build out a new list. I'll put this guy at the top just for now. Because I've been having. What I do is I have like a big list. If I go back, pull it up. Let me go pull it up so I can start looking at some. We can talk about some of these stocks too. I write down a bunch of stocks, and then if I enter them, I check it off. Or if they push up or they break through support or something happens and I'm not in it, I cross it off and move on to the next one, right? So I got to kind of refresh the list for this coming week. I do that after this video or tomorrow morning is probably what I'll do. But that one's good. I like this. This actually looks good. I mean, this is building higher lows. It's kind of, we can see, right? It's coming down, consolidating down in here, sub $1. And I think a move over $1 is solid. So, this thing looks pretty good. Prime for a big move. AZRX, let's see what the float is for AZRX. Yeah, 27. That's not super low, but it's decently low. This thing can get a quick push. I think there was LMNL was one that I'm in now that I looked at. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, it's just flat. It's just flatlining here. It's just absolutely flat, which is awesome. So if you guys don't know, this is using finviz.com. So this is a free site. There's a link down below, I think, in the description if you want to check it out, or you just type in finviz.com. And if you're new to charting and you don't know how to chart or anything, I think it's a great place to get started, just to see kind of, okay, here's, they're putting in some lines here. Where are these lines coming from? Okay, here are some indicators. You can look at the daily chart, the intraday chart. Well, you have to subscribe, I think, to whatever. I don't subscribe personally. Good information. Insiders own, 67% of this company. So you get some good information here, and it's free. And it helps, and you can also scan for stocks. You can use the screener. I have a video on the channel if you also want to check it out too, how I find the next 100% penny stock runner, and I go through a quick scan of what I do, generally how to find stuff like that. So it's good. I like to use my charting platform myself, but then I'll go there for, just to reference things because it's fun. It's fun to see that too. And then they also at the bottom, if you scroll down, if we go to the bottom, on like a specific stock. For example, if I was to go back to LMNL, if there was insider buying, like let me pull up one that there is that I know I've seen. HGPA was a recent stock that I traded from down here, all the way up here to over 250. We see that there's insider buying. And so it tells you, hey, the director, the CEO are buying. Here's the date. Here's where they bought in at. Here's the amount of shares, the number of, how much that costed them, and the amount of shares they currently have. So it's pretty cool. So it kind of simplifies things. So instead of having to go through like SEC filings, which I know a lot of people don't want to do, it kind of has it. You can see it right there, which is good. So that's that. I know that also we have the Browns Steelers game, so I'll pull it up. My Browns already up 14-0. Uh-oh. Steelers have just kind of tanked, the second half of the season. That's nuts. Baker must be going up. Baker's having a good day here. So we'll see. We'll keep it on the background. We'll keep it on the back burner. Let's see. I know I was just watching their games earlier. I'm at the college football championship next week, or tomorrow. Fisker, FSR. Let's take a peek at Fisker. This was one that is just kind of just sitting there. So Fisker, pull it up. FSR. Also, for those who are new, if you guys wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up button, I really appreciate you guys for doing so. Get some more ideas in the chat. Awesome, respectful, awesome comments in the chat is like the name of the game here. Just curating a big watch list and providing your thoughts. That's so helpful. If I miss it, someone else can be looking through the chat and they can see something, look it up, and maybe they make some good money on that play. I want to see it holding up here in the 15s, upper 14s, 15 area. I want to see it holding up. It may not. It's just the thing with Fisker is that they don't have production for a while, so it's a long-term play on Fisker. Personally, I think it's at the bottom of this current range. Could it make a shot back up towards 18-ish? Yes. So it's in this little bottom area. We can honestly move this line down if we really wanted to, but I'm still bullish longer term on Fisker. I think the CEO, Henrik Fisker, just had COVID, so he's going to come back. Hopefully we see some more updates from them. It's really kind of things have gotten quiet, so there's not much going on. Yeah, it's an EV play, but no production yet. Cars aren't on the road. You can't be in the forefront of the news right now, right? So unless they have some crazy deals and some crazy stuff coming in terms of pre-orders and things like that, for right now, Fisker's kind of just chilling. So it's a pretty boring play. It's a long-term play, somewhat of a lottery play. Already made some money, locked in some profits on it personally because I was buying in back in here, and I wrote it up here. So that's my take on Fisker for right now. Steelers 2 turnovers. Okay, that's why. That's not looking good for them. BIOL is these stocks have been hot, right? Generally, what we say in January, a lot of penny stocks under $1, super hot. And so we see BIOL pushing up, and I missed it. I remember I was looking at it; it was on my list, and then I missed it back in here. Ideally, I could have made a pretty big move. I could have still got in the next day and capitalized. But I'm pretty I'm pretty strict to my strategy where I try to buy the bottoms. I buy as low as I can, and I don't start chasing stuff once it starts pushing up. But again, this is starting to put in, it's consolidating and putting in, kind of higher lows. So it's pushing up. And the way we finished on Friday, this looks pretty good for a move, and it may want to take out this prior, recent high up around 67 cents. If we go back to the left, we can kind of get a sense as to where, this thing may be headed potentially. This thing has prior history of these spikes. So, we're getting into this range right here, this prior area, of consolidation and this rough area of consolidation. So that's going to be an area we have to really kind of break through to the upside. But if it starts pushing back up over and holding over 50 cents, that would be a good sign, because 50 cents is previously, area of resistance. Now that becomes new support as we get pushing over, which would be good. Also, too, I know it's a little small. I understand. For videos, I try to put the ticker symbol. I overlay that on the middle of the screen in a nice big letters. But the ticker symbol is up in the top right. I'll try to say it. It's also up in the top left, super small. I know. I wish I could make it bigger, but as of right now, I can't. So unfortunately, hopefully it's not terrible. I know on mobile it's probably not ideal, but I try to say it. So hopefully we can get that at least out. Let me go back through. NAK, I like under NAK, ticker symbol NAK, I like under 35 cents. Comes back down to that range, it's a spot I may start buying. Great picks, insight, and support. It's not about, the way I see it too is that, I hope that this stuff helps. The idea is that I don't want to be, right, what some of these people are, the hype and all the penny stock hype and stuff. Because, people are talking about all these stocks. BNGO. Could this stock be great? Could this stock have a killer, long-term potential? Yes. I just don't play this stuff. For most of my trades, I'm looking to be the guy getting in down here. I'm anticipating this move. But that's because I see money flow coming into the sector's getting hot, or I can anticipate, hey, this company, for example, has data coming out in this month or this quarter. I'm going to start getting in now in anticipation of that data being good. Now, of course, you run the risk, right? Like any stock, you run the risk of that data being bad. SON is a perfect example. They have data coming in quarter one, I believe, of 2021, which we look back to the left. And the reason why this is a beautiful no, I'm not in right now, a beautiful no-brainer in my eyes, SON, because look at these prior spikes when they release data. And many times, good news finds a good-looking chart. So, okay, if this does have, if we do see some bad, your downside risk here, based on the technicals, based on support, is like 20 cents right now. 25 cents downside risk down to this 220 area, which we hit. But if we get, a catalyst play, or we get a run-up into the potential news, this stock, I think it's a lower float too. Let's look at SONN. We pull up the float for SON on Finviz. Okay, a 16 million float. We look at this chart. This chart is steading up. This chart is like the perfect type of chart I love to see with penny stocks. Bottomed out, absolutely dead bottomed out, right? And if obviously you run the risk of bad news or whatever, but with any positive news, a dead bottom chart like this, you see these spikes. Look at this. From the past spike, the past time it did it went from 250 to $5. I mean, it's 100%. I mean, so this is the type of stuff I'm looking for. Now, do I anticipate a 100% move? No, I'm scaling out on the way, but I love these setups, especially with Catalyst, which SON has data coming, so I like it. Let's see if I can scroll down. DPW getting attention. DPW, it does it all. DPW is that company, it just seems like they do it all. But that said, down here, okay, kind of doing it's doing its little U shape. So we kind of had the push up. Now, what I would like to see for DPW personally, I'm not in, but I don't think I'll take it. We'll see. Maybe if it comes down to this area again, I may. But if it comes down here, it's holding up around this 350 area. We also have the 50 SMA support on the daily chart, which is sitting right here at this 350. It's almost at 350, so this is coming up, which is good. So we have two layers of support. Just the literal support line that we came down to and didn't break below. We kind of did, but a wick is it's trading is an art, not an exact science. So it's never gonna be perfect. But we came up, so this thing makes a recovery and pushes back over this 550 area. Then it may make a move. We got some room. We got some room up to the upside. And the reason why I say we have room is because this area is going to be resistance. We look at this. For whatever reason, right, we came up here and we couldn't break above. We came up to 540 something. So I would say give it 550, right? We came up here and we couldn't break above it. So that's going to be the area we have to push above. So we still got, about $1 more move up for that move. Although downside risk here, we have down to 350. So if you were looking to get into DPW, the way I trade these types of things is I start buying the stock. I'm ultimately looking for this breakout. Either there's a catalyst at play or I see the momentum in the sector, which I'd see DPW with their recent charging news and whatnot. Okay, there's momentum in the sector, right? EVs are hot. They release news about their charging, whatever, stations or whatever they were doing. Okay, and this is off the top of my head, if I recall correctly from DPW. I'm anticipating it to push up over here, and once we get over here, we can see a pretty big breakout. Big volume comes in, yes. But I'm looking to add this stock down here, so I'm not buying my whole position right here. If I buy my whole position right here at 450, and DPW ends up cracking down below 350, and it breaks below 350, I got to cut a loss. I lose $1. Now, is it the end of the world? No. But what I could do is buy half, let's say up here, and then DPW comes down towards 350. I can buy the other half there. That puts my average kind of in the middle, so I lose less if it cracks below. And then if we do get the breakout to the upside, my average is ultimately lower, and I can capitalize on more gains to the upside. That's how I personally trade. I really add in portions. I don't just add all at once, or really, I really add more than twice. Honestly, I ideally start accumulating shares. And so let me pull up one that I'm looking at right now, NVCN. Where is it? NVCN is one that I've been accumulating shares, same type of setup. Bottomed out play, right? Look at NVCN. We got to break above this 115, 120 area, and then there's a gap. So this is a gap on the chart where we have kind of a drop off. This is a gap that many times these gaps get filled back to the upside. So, you're playing a numbers game many times. It's relative, not every time. But we see this happening, a hot period for a lot of these. This is a biotech play, right? Yep, healthcare, biotech, hot sector this time of year, right? And these stocks pushing up. So the stock is sitting right around $1, but I'm looking to add this stock down in here. So if it dips down further, I have, cash on hand ready to add into my position. And then once we get the bigger breakout, that's where I start scaling out of my position. But ultimately, my average becomes lower and lower if the stock does pull back or I buy the dips. So my average is low as possible, and that's where I can capitalize on the bigger game. That's ultimately just how I personally like to do it. But that's that. Let's see. Scrolling down through. Appreciate the donation. I'm not sure if I missed. I didn't talk about Zom. Let's talk about. I saw Zom. They had Carol Baskin did like a video or something. I think it had to be one of those cameo things where someone paid her to talk about it, and she had no idea what she was saying clearly. But she was talking about how their product. I forgot the product's called. Now their product is like the next best thing. It's going to be really great. She clearly didn't know what she was saying, but she was just saying it. So this is actually hilarious. But Zom have been pushing up again. One of those penny stocks, sub 50 cents, sub $1. They've been hot, right? This is the type of stock that we can see pushing up. Now, I have some lines in here from looking at this in the past. So I personally played Zom. I used to play Zom back in these days when it would kind of have these offerings, dip down and then push up, and have another offer. So you had these gaps down. And then I would buy it post-offering, and it would hold it for like 2 weeks, and it would push up, which was fun. Then we had this period, August, September, October, where it just like went straight. It was just kind of downtrending, and like a lot of small caps were doing so. But recently, it's been pushing up. Now it's the point for me. I'm probably not going to take it unless if I do, it would be strictly a day trade. So I'm not going to be taking this thing with large size. It's already up, so your downside risk is tremendously more than it would be. But I have a 50-cent area of resistance. We broke above 50 cents before, actually on earlier this week. We came back down, and then we pushed back up, and we're at the area again because we look back to the left. We have a couple areas that we hit up around 50 cents, and we couldn't break above. So we just did. This actually could be a good sign because we pierced through that level, and now the second push could get us above that. And plus, the Carol Baskin pump, I don't know when she made that video, but it's actually kind of funny, and I would not be surprised to see Zom, making some massive moves this coming week. And they also have the launch of that product, so this could be one of those. I forget exactly. I don't know. I'm not saying up to date on Zom's product launch, but I'll look into that this week. But whenever that launch is, and we've seen it before with a lot of stocks, it's a buy the rumor, sell the news many times. So in anticipation of the launch, the stock pushes up. Great. You ride that wave. You get close to that launch. You're taking your profits. Take them off the table. We saw that with EVFM, which is a stock that I still like right now, actually even longer term. Here's EVFM, right? We had anticipation of the launch of their product, Fexi, I believe, and the stock pushes up. It hits up here just shy of $4, and as long as if you were taking profits on the way, you were fine. But a lot of people saw, hey, come the product launch, this thing is going to blow up, and it didn't. It just sold off pretty rapidly to the downside. And so EVFM just kind of tanked. So that's your danger. And there wasn't really, there was kind of bad news. It was the CEO sold a lot of shares, and apparently it was to buy a house for her parents. Whether that's BS, whatever it was, you don't want to see the CEO selling a lot of shares. It doesn't, bode well for a lot of traders or investors. So that kind of coupled with what happened, it made it worse. But that's events. So that's my only concern with ZOM. If you're holding this thing through the product launch, holding shares you're willing to lose, or be traded with money you're willing to lose, because we could see that type of drop. Thoughts on Galaxy Next Gen? I don't know. What if you put the ticker in the chat and I'll take a peek. I personally am not very Trueforma is the product for ZOM. I'm not very familiar with Galaxy Next Gen. I've been seeing a bunch of people talking about though. And March 30th is the launch for ZOM. Okay, well there we go. March 30th, you have plenty of time, plenty of run-up time for that launch. So I could see this thing pushing up a lot more, for sure. Bitcoin free Joe Exotic. Bitcoin. Let's take a peek at Bitcoin really quick in the meantime. BTC is just pulling back a little bit. Hit 41 over 41K, pulling back. I mean, this is the type of stuff. Ideally, what you want to see is you'd want to see GAXY. Okay, we'll take a peek at that in a second. I think Bitcoin needs a consolidation period. We gotta let's get Bitcoin to consolidate. Like look back here, like see how it kind of consolidated, up around just shy of 20K before it broke out, and how it consolidated for a few days in the low 20s. Let's get one of those, and then we can get the next leg up. GAXY. Okay. Peek at this guy OTC play, but look at this. It popped. If this is legit, wow, that's crazy. This is the type of volatility that you see with these stocks. Okay, well, this stock could be coming. It may come down a little bit, but I would see if it comes down. Let's see if it can hold this 0.025 area. If it can't hold that area, looks like we zoom in, these wicks to the downside, down towards about 2 cents. If we hit down towards 2 cents, that could be support. And then watch the 50 SMA. Watch these blue lines, the blue and orange lines. They're going to start kind of curling on up. So that could be an area of support here on the daily chart. So that's kind of how I would be looking at this stuff. But again, these types of stocks are, if we zoom out and see what's been going on with this guy, you got to be ready and play OTC plays. You're not playing them the same way that I'm generally trading most of my stuff, because you have to be willing to take that big kind of dip, right? If you're not willing to take, large dips to the downside, you got to be careful. So let's see, this thing hits down here to, let's see, if it holds 0.025, that could be the area. If not, then we could see this thing coming down potentially further, down towards 2 cents, 0.02. Right here we have a 0.18, these kind of highs. Look back to the left, and you see prior areas that were highs in the past. Those will probably be areas of support. So that's what I would be looking at. I don't know enough about the company personally, but that's just my take based on the chart. It's really GHIV. I like GHIV. Let's take a peek at this guy. Briefly talked about it at the beginning, but I'm holding this guy. Dips getting bought up. I like GHIV. It's going to be a massive SPAC play. I think the merger in the 20-something of January, so we got some time, and we'll see. What I would like to see right now actually is Clove, COLV, Clover Health, the merger, IPOC week. Interesting play, because now a couple days post-merger kind of sets the tone. We'll see if we start getting some more. I think Bank of America put a price target of $20 out, so we'll see if that gets going for COLV. That'll be a good sign. And then GHIV is one of those where I think you're kind of sitting in a period where any days where we see dips, if the market sells off, those are dip buys. Those are great opportunities to buy the dip. You buy those dips, and then you can either if you want to flip it for some, flip some of the shares with holding a core size, flip them the next day or flip them intraday for a couple % gain, but we're ultimately holding a core share size for the bigger move post-merger. You're going to get volatility. Like, look at these kind of crazy kind of wicks we just saw with COLV into their merger. Wicks to the downside, crazy downside to 14, and then it goes back up to 16, and then it's down back here after the merger, hits down to 1450, then it goes back up to 17. So if you're not willing to kind of play or hold through some of that, be careful. Don't play with too much on these. But ultimately, a lot of these SPAC plays, if you get it under 12, you get it under 13, you're looking like those are solid buys. Personally, I have a very, very small amount of Dogecoin, but I don't really want to mess with it. That's that. CLRB. What's this guy doing? CLRB. Let's put up the daily chart on this bad boy. So it kind of fell out of this little range I had previously drawn in roughly, but let's see. So what I want to see here, we have some wicks down towards this 180-ish area. Would like to see 180 hold. If 180 cannot hold, then look to the 50 SMA, which is currently at this 170 or 168. This is going to start pushing up. So maybe this is probably going to come up to this 180, 175. So I don't want to see it drop below 175. If it does, it could possibly keep coming on down. That's my only issue with this guy. Just kind of push up here to over nearly 3. So it pushed back. So this is one of those. CLRB is one. I don't think I played CLRB, but I played CRBP. CRBP is one that I'm in playing for a little bit. But it came down here, and it's on the 50 SMA, so it's holding that area of support, which is right around this 125 area right now. So CRBP has, I believe, 1 or 2 catalysts coming. At least they have data coming in March at a minimum. And it's, a stock that's, I think, fairly low float, massive gap to the upside, has gotten attention in the past. I think it's a matter of time before people find this stock. Pretty low risk reward. Pretty low risk with high reward, in my opinion, especially playing this one for the kind of the pre kind of data run, right? Running up in anticipation of data before it happens. Bob, I'll take a look at Bob quick. How is this guy doing? So it's consolidating. So it had this dip, this massive drop off, and we had the whole stuff going on there, and then Jack Ma's hiding, right? Whatever he's doing, but it's consolidating down here. So this could be a good spot if you're looking to get it for the long term. This could be a decent spot personally. I don't have Baba. Nothing that I don't see value. This could be the gift of a lifetime, right? Personally, I'm just not. I don't know enough about it personally to do anything with it, to play it. In the long-term portfolio, but I kind of like where it's at, consolidating down here for a potential move back up towards this 250 if you want to play it for like either options or something. So accumulating down here for a move to 250 plus, filling this kind of gap back up here, pre-sell-off that we just saw recently. Sorry if I'm missing a bunch of stuff. Tnxp, I believe, is one that I think I missed from earlier, but I want to talk about it. I think I'm looking at this guy this week as well. So Tnxp is uptrending, putting in higher lows. Ideally, I would like to see Tnxp stay below like 85 cents for me to get in if I want to take this thing. But I think this is going to be a $1 plus play. So, what does that put you at? That's putting you like a 20% profit here. Again, a little bit more downside risk, in my opinion, than I would probably normally like to take. So I wouldn't be going in big if I take this one. But I would want to see this thing holding like 75 cent support or so. Pushing up an after hours, so push up a little bit. So I can see this one being this one could gap up come Monday. But look back to the left. This is the perfect example. Kind of miss it personally because I like to get in, bottomed out. I like to be in towards the bottom. But prior spikes, sell off, and then it's the sell off kind of ends, and we see this thing holding up, putting in higher lows, and then boom, you can buy these higher lows or buy these lows, and look into kind of selling into your little pops, which I like. Let's see. That's the other thing with Baba. There's the Trump. Well, no, Baba has stuff going on as well. They had. Let's pull it up. There's the Trump. There's the executive order, and then there was also they had news. Where was it? If we go back, I forget where it was. But there was something. There's some anti-monopoly regulations that they had with Baba. Whether that has some legs to it or not, I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough. On top of the Trump stuff, yes. So. We'll see. With Biden, that should be ideally right. You would think a lot of these Chinese stocks, there shouldn't be as much kind of risk. Open from short to midterm. Let's take a peek at open door. I kind of like it if it comes. I like it down towards here, which would put it down towards like 25. It's not terribly far off from 25 cents. I kind of like that. If it comes down a little bit more, I would be potentially looking to buy this thing on this dip. I ideally want to see this trend line hold. Want to see it roughly hold the 50 SMA, which is what it's been doing the past couple of weeks and months. So whereas 50 SMA around 22.50, that's going to keep pushing up, right? As the stock price stays above that level, it's going to hold up. So ideally, this looks like a pretty good spot at this rough trend line, down towards 25. If it comes down a little more, it could be a good dip buy. BXRX, unfortunately, let's see what BXRX is doing. Unfortunately, was one that was on my list, and I stopped myself out because it hit a new low. So I wanted to see 97 cents hold, right? and it hit 96 cents in the pre-market hours one day. And so I unfortunately had the weak hands here, and I sold it for a very small loss. I was getting in the low ones, so a very small paper cut loss. And I was like, okay, well, it's still holding up. Maybe it's worth getting back in. Now, of course, it's at 120. So not that I missed it. It certainly has a lot of range up. If it comes back down, I want to see if I can buy this guy. It may hold this 50 SMA at 110. So you may not see this thing back below $1 anytime soon. But I mean, this thing has lots of range to the upside. I mean, this thing gets over 180. This thing has a gap to fill up towards 260, which is massive. I think BXRX is going to get found. This is one that's I think it's been on my list, but I need to make sure this is a priority. Honestly, any dips, or what I'll do is I'll probably just put in like an order. I'll put in an order on Monday or two, whenever I'm looking at this thing, if it doesn't run already, for whatever area I want to get. And then if it dips, we see a market dip. Let's say, like, for example, let's take a peek at tomorrow. Futures, at least. Futures look like they're going to be down. Now, they're actually coming down a little more than they were. So if tomorrow's the dip buy day, and all of a sudden we wake up and next thing it's like panic sell central, everyone's selling, that's an awesome day to buy. So that's what I'm personally going to be doing. I'll be looking for BXRX tomorrow. If everyone wants to sell it to me, I'll be the one buying. I think that, if we do see some dips in the overall market, I think those dips will get bought, especially with stimulus right now. I just personally don't see, a big correction or anything. I mean, maybe we see correction, but I don't see a massive correction that doesn't get bought eventually, right? So it's just panic sell, I think, if we see some crazy drops. Browns, I hear Browns up big. Wow, Browns are up. Ben Roethlisberger has 2 picks. That's crazy. Browns are up 28-0 in the first quarter. That's nuts. I thought I was going to be able to come, after the stream, after halftime or so, sit back and watch that for the end of the night. But it's like game's over already. Mostly, Pittsburgh's got some firepower, so we'll see. DPLS. And sorry if I miss some of the comments in the chat. Sometimes I just can't see everything. But let's see. I will try to do my best. I don't know enough about DPLS personally. It's an OTC play, so I don't know enough about it. Dark Pulse technology. Okay. Security platforms. Okay, well, this could be like a cybersecurity play, right? I believe, or something like that. So this is just gonna be hot. This is a hot sector right now. So this could be hot. Now, ideally, these are understand your downside risk here with OTC plays, because if it comes back down towards where it was sitting, right, that's a pretty decent percentage downside. So understand that. Be willing, if you're willing to take that risk or play with money you're willing to lose. If you can buy these dips, it doesn't look bad. It looks like it's trying to put in higher lows. It's getting some volume, getting some attention. So maybe there's something up, which you see volume precedes price. So you look at the past couple of weeks, right? Back in August, back in September, look at these volume bars in the bottom, right? I know it's a bit small. Let me zoom in a little bit. Look at these volume bars. The stock didn't move too much, but the volume started pushing up. And then the stock makes some big pops. So, somebody was loading up for whatever reason, and then the stock moves. So if you're starting to notice a stock that's getting lots of volume and it's not really moving too much in price, that could be a signal of something coming, personally, right? JAGX waiting on FDA for approval. NNDM. JAGX has been a crazy run already. NNDM has been great, but look at this. This is actually looking really good. NNDM in this consolidation phase, I like it. I like NNDM's kind of looking bullish right now. I was in NNDM, and then I was out, and then I was in. I played it a couple different times, but here's your kind of downtrend right now. Let's see if it breaks out. Ideally, it comes back down to this trend line, back towards 8, and then it pops and breaks from there. Was what I would like to see. And NNDM comes down towards 8. That's the time to be buying NNDM. So that's what I see. GAXY I talked about a little bit earlier. I don't know enough about, so I wish I could give you guys more on that one. I just don't know enough about. Open Door I think is fine. It's getting close to if it dips a little bit more. Open Door, if we go back to I look at the trend line really quick, it's coming down to this trend line. So if it comes down and holds this area, would like to see it holding above 23 or so. Don't want to see it. Want to see these higher lows being put in. It does that. This is a bullish move. And it can make a move back up. So ideally, what we have is the downtrend roughly for right here, right now, kind of like this. You break above this downtrend, you're pushing out. You'll probably clear out above these highs, above that 32.39. So that's what I would like to see. AKBA, I believe, is this patience play. It's just kind of sitting in this little range. Another oversold play. Let's take a peek at the float on AKBA. Let's pull this up. AKBA. It's very oversold play. A decently high float. So ideally, that's not you don't. This stock is not like my type of ideal play. I do like where it's at based on a risk reward. Down in here, down towards $2, under $3 is great. I think under 4 is honestly still probably fine. If it could push up, a lot more for sure. Could it go, but if it breaks back above this 420, this 425 area, look at this gap up towards like $9 or $10. It's got a lot of room up. So this could be one of those park your money here if you've done some due diligence into this guy. Park some money here, be buying it, being a buyer in this kind of range that it's in, and then in a few weeks, few months, this thing maybe makes a recovery, and you're able to kind of take a nice large percentage gain. Ideally, this type of play would be something I love if the float was lower. So if the amount of shares available was lower, down under like 100 million, then I would be probably a little more interested because it's not that low. It doesn't have the potential to make those massive spikes and move super fast. Could it? Yes. Off of good news, yes. But ideally, you need a lot of attention, a lot of volume on this guy for it to make a really big pop. WEI. Let's see this guy. This is actually pretty good. I mean, this is kind of puts in a low here down towards 125. So it held 125. So that's your support for right now, and it's recovering back on up. I kind of like it based on a risk reward here. Although if we do come back down and fall below 125, you get to the point of like, can you identify an area of support unless you're playing for a catalyst, or you say, hey, they got a catalyst coming on this date. I'm going to hold it through this date, and I'm going to average down. Then you may see this thing come down towards $1 and potentially further, resume its kind of downtrend if it cracks that 125 or so area. Just how I see it for right now. Personally, with Bitcoin stuff, my only thing with Bitcoin stuff, let's see. I'll look at BTSC, and then I'll tell you guys my thoughts on this is a crazy. Look at this thing, crazy. These are. BTSC was Bitcoin. This is one that I was in. I believe I was in this guy back in here or something like that. I'm now no longer in. That's a crazy run. OTC play. It's getting found. A lot of Bitcoin plays. My only issue with that is that a lot of them have run. A lot of these Bitcoin related companies have run. If you look at some of them, like for example, what is there? There was EBON was one. It kind of got a little push. From the 4s to the 8s, there was MFH. There's your usuals, Mara, your riots. MFH has got this pop. I loved MFH down here, and it broke out to the upside. MFH could go for more, but your risk here is significantly higher. Mara hit, and this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. Because what I will say for those who don't know, I bought Mara a decent size, nothing crazy for my account size, but I bought a good chunk. You can't even see it now. Let's zoom in on this down. If we look back to the left, but we this the reason why I was in it, because this downtrend, it was breaking out of this downtrend. Bitcoin was pushing up. I was anticipating Bitcoin breaking over 20K at the time, right? And so I bought it. Mara goes up, it hits like 680. I took off most of my shares. Ideally, I should have held more. Then the thing goes to 28. So like if I had held those shares, obviously, coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? Hindsight's 2020, and it actually is 2020, I guess. JagX, personally, let's pick a JagX. Wow, that's a crazy move. I mean, I'm personally, it's one of those where I don't play it up here personally, because your risk is so much higher. But if we look back to the left, this is has a range. You keep going back, it has a range, but at what point I would like to see for these types of plays, pullbacks, consolidation periods. Same thing with BNGO, right? Like we kind of saw, they did the offering. Okay, good news, kind of, I guess. It pulls back. Let's see it consolidate, hold up an area. Once it holds up in an area, then we can kind of say, hey, we clearly have an X, dollar support. That's where I want to buy as close as possible, looking for a move back up. Yeah. It's just you start getting to the point where you're just chasing. I like SNDL, Sundial. I'm in that bad boy. I've been in that one for a little bit. I made money on it last week, so I'm not going to lose money on the trade. I was in it from down here in the 40s, in the mid 40s, pushed up. I wish I had gotten more at that point, but I don't know if I saw that stuff on Sundial on the CEO. I don't believe he actually bought 6 million shares. I believe I'm going to look a little bit deeper into that one. But I don't think it's not bad news. Whatever happened is not. I think he acquired shares in there's technical side to that stuff, I don't think he's just bought 6 million shares. But I kind of like it's consolidating right here. This could get a pop tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to sundial tomorrow. But we'll see. This is again one of those things where I think the real move on a lot of these cannabis-related plays, the real move will come when the MORE Act passes through the Senate. The MORE Act was what we saw pass through the House, got approved. That got things going back in here. When Biden initially kind of won and whatnot, in the beginning stages, it got popped up, right? Now I think the reality here is that ultimately, we saw these crazy pops. Ultimately, what just happened this past week is more important and is bigger news for cannabis stocks because the Senate is now controlled by Democrats. What does that mean? It means that this legislation that is highly favored by Democrats, right, for cannabis, laws, that can get passed so much more easily. So I'm personally I would not be surprised to see a much bigger move coming on SNDL. Now, does it take a little bit of time? Maybe. Does it just happen right away? Probably not. But they have no debt, so I like that right there. And I think the stock can get there. They also have, I think, 6 months. They have until June. I mean, it's like 5 months now to get their minimum bid price over $1. So they could do, and they may still do, a reverse stock split. So we have to watch out for that. If that happens, it's not the end of the world. The stock might sell off in anticipation of that. So we have to watch for that. So I like it. I legitimately want to see $1 plus. I don't think we stop. We're going to have resistance up around 95 cents towards $1, but I think we can legitimately see more. SNDL sold okay. Well, there was SNDL like SNDL reminds me. Someone was mentioning it too. SNDL kind of reminds me of Mara. So SNDL right here in the sub $1 level reminds me of what MARA was. Prior to the Bitcoin run, MARA back in here sub $3. This is what SNDL kind of reminds me of. So now. Does it make a run? I'm not saying it's going to make a run like this, but because we have now, as time moves on, as we see a bigger, potential push for legislation to get passed, not just SNDL, we can look at other stocks, ACB, Aurora Cannabis. I mean, look at their chart; they're kind of breaking out of a downtrend, pushing back up. Tilray just I think Tilray just merged with another company, right? Tilray pushing up, holding this beautiful uptrend here for Tilray. I mean, it looks solid. And then CGC, there's so many other ones. There's even OTC. There's so many plays for cannabis stocks. Doing a little bit of DD into them is great. But I personally am holding CGC for a little bit of a longer term in a long-term portfolio, and I'm going to be trading SNDL. So SNDL has more volatility in terms of the movement that it can make, so that's why I like it. Although SNDL's volume has been pretty crazy, but we look back to the volume that we had in the past, we're not there. We're not to that 2 billion volume that we saw in the past. We're up at like almost 1 billion. So we're pretty, it's pretty much, pretty strong volume, but we can see more. I think we certainly can see more. ZOM has, ZOM short term. Yeah, ZOM could be potentially up with that new product launch, which is in March now, I believe, what someone was saying. We'll see. I like ZOM. I liked it lower, ideally. We take a peek at it. I'm not in it, but I think it's getting a lot of attention, and we'll see. So if this breaks over 50 cents, I would love to see it consolidate around 50 cents. Maybe after I'll pick some up. But personally, I'm more of a bottom buyer, so I'll bottom support buyer, so I'm not going to be going in big. BNGO, personally, would like to see it consolidate a little bit more, ideally. Let's see. What else? MDGS, didn't they do an offering or something? MDGS, let's take a look at MDGS. Okay, MDGS pushing up. I, unfortunately, was in this guy back here, got stopped out as it went below my points, my price points I wanted to see hold. I stopped myself out. Again, stinks looking back, but I held to my strategy. I held to my kind of how I trade. It pushes up, held this, 190, 185 support, and then had the news. So APHA and Tilray merger. Yeah, that's what it was. XL Fleet. I think XL Fleet could make a nice move. I personally had XL in like a 10 something average, so I sold half my shares up at 30. And it's holding right here. It's holding this $20 support, so I like it. I like XL holding $20 support. We're still looking good. I think it's putting in higher lows. It's trying to get the next leg for the next move up. This is setting up for that type of pattern that I love to see. Right? We have a big push up. hits 35. Okay, cool. Comes back down. We need a healthy pullback. Putting in a higher low, good sign, right? Consolidating, now higher lows building, and it's starting to make that U shape, right? So XL is making that U shape potentially for a U shape recovery and then breakout over the prior high. That's what I would like to see happen with XL fleet. Now, personally, I'm not going to touch XL additionally to what I've already done. I have it in a longer term portfolio, bought it at like 10 something, wrote it up, sold half, and I'm going to ride the rest now because it's still looking very healthy in my opinion. So that's my take on XL right now. CHEK. Let's take a peek at CHEK. CHEK, check cap. This one, okay, here's my current chart on it. Pushing up, and then it's got this consolidation right here. So we'll see what happens. This one, I personally I'm not going to play it unless, I like getting in down here. I don't like getting in up here. Personally, I know people are in it that are, if you want to see these highs, this area hold. So this kind of putting in higher lows, you want to see 143 or so, 140 hold. If that can't hold, I could see this thing coming down potentially, decently to the downside because there's a lot of, open space down here. Not much chart history. So that's my only concern. If it pushes back to the upside and breaks out and pushes over this 190, it may make a shot and clear back over this 293, make a shot towards 300. But we'll see. My only concern though with some of this stuff is that, not concerned. It's a good thing, I think, personally, is this. Looking like a decent sell-off. So small caps down over 1%. This could be, tomorrow could be a decent red day to go shopping, or maybe not, I wouldn't be going in massive, but I would start, grabbing if you still like something for a catalyst or you like a stock, that's down. It could be a decent shopping day. Red days recently, until something is proven otherwise, right? They've been proven to be good shopping days. VIX is up 3%, so some volatility coming in here. VIX over 25. Let's pull up the VIX really quick. VIX over 25, I think gets a little interesting. If we look at the VIX, yeah, it's not even. VIX over 30 really is where the party starts in terms of some people getting freaked out, I guess. But it's kind of putting in higher lows, pushed down. So we'll see if the VIX is up around 23, right? We're looking at in the futures. VIX is at 23.62. Where does that put us? Right in here. So nothing crazy. You've had these little spikes up and then it kind of pulls right back down. So we'll see what happens. If the VIX pushes up, it looks like over 29. Maybe we start getting a little bit, I wouldn't say nervous, but just get ready. Maybe have some extra cash on hand. Maybe exit a position or two that's already up. Take your money and then look to re-enter lower because we may be seeing a pullback. Overall, look at the market. We can't keep going straight up. It's not going to keep happening. I understand stimulus. I understand all that stuff, but it's going to pull back. We're going to have pullbacks, and it's been fun to be able to buy those pullbacks and buy those dips because those have ultimately been fun, to be able to buy that, and you're making lots of money off of those plays. Dip buys have been, paying beautifully. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. OPTT. OPTT is one that I've actually been watching, getting ready to see if I want to, grab some. And tomorrow may be the day with a little bit of a red market. Tomorrow may be the day. OPTT has been holding the 50 SMA pretty nicely. It's blue line pretty nicely. So OPTT, uptrending stock, putting in higher lows, looking very strong. It's in that same kind of, renewable energy sector that's been super, super hot. Let's see if we can put a trend line in. And this may not hold perfectly, but, roughly here's your kind of a rough trend that we kind of have an OPTT. For right now, I would say 50 SMA, hold that 50 SMA, which is at like 235, and it's coming up. So maybe like 250 or so could be a good dip buy. If it comes down there, that's a good spot. So it's going to be fun to see, honestly, what happens tomorrow, I think. Because if we do get a pullback in the market, it's going to be. I'm pumped because I don't want to have to keep buying stocks that are up. I want to get the pullbacks. I want to get. I love the dip buy. I love the the support buys, the dip entries and stuff like that. Buy the fear. Oh yeah, Solo. We've been looking at Solo. Let's see. Solo. I think is actually looking interesting because Solo. If we take a peek at what's been happening lately, we can put some trend lines in here. Rough trend lines. Here's your kind of slowly building uptrends, and the 50 SMA. Solo should be solid because the 50 SMA here, many times, and I'll show you guys an example with Neo. So here's your kind of Solo chart. Now maybe I don't have to extend it this much, but putting in higher lows, pretty much holding up. 50 SMA, this blue line on the daily chart is coming up, right? And look back. We haven't tested that line since, early November. It's been a couple months. And when you haven't tested that line in a while and you're trying to find areas of support, what's a good spot? That's usually a good spot to find this potential support. Neo hadn't tested that line in months, okay? Neo crazy run. The first chance it gets to test the 50 SMA, it legitimately bounced directly off of it. Zoom in, literally to a T, that exactly at that point was the low of the day. So that's why I like Solo for a move back up. Do I love the company long term? I don't know. I don't really care. That's just how I trade these things. Could it go? Yeah. But here, I want to see a breakout of this little guy right here, pushing back over this $8, pushing back over 860 or so, and then here are my kind of areas back to the upside that I would like to see. So I like it. I like the setup there. Amtx. Let's take a peek. Amtx has been one that I've been hearing a lot about. Higher lows being put in. Amtx is looking pretty good too. Higher lows roughly, right? We can draw something like this, rough. Comes back down a little bit more, down to the it's probably not going to come below 250, but if it comes down anything close to 250, it's a decent buy in my opinion. So, prior history of spikes, uptrending stock, I kind of like it. I'm seeing a lot of IZEA. Let's take a peek at this guy. IZEA is up a lot. So beautiful. Oh, this is actually, I think I missed this too. I was looking at this, but I missed it. I remember looking, because I just distinctly remember seeing this chart setup. I mean, a beautiful bull flag. I mean, look at this bull flag type of setup. Higher lows being put in. Grab this little trendline tool. Higher lows. I mean, and at some point you crack out either up or down to this kind of, higher lows being put in, lower highs, but you're coming to a point, and then boom, there's the pop. Volume comes in, breaks out to the upside. So personally, I'm not going to play it up here. But I would have been buying it down in this area right here. The sub 190 would have been beautiful, ideally. It was on my radar, but I just didn't take it because personally I'm more of a support buyer down there. But that's that. The software I'm using is Webull. This is Webull. Should be linked below if you want to get a sign-up bonus to Webull as well in the description. It's a free platform to use. You don't have to pay for it. The only thing that I pay extra for is level 2, so it's like $2 a month to get level 2. But that's that. And then this is finviz.com. This is also free. You can pay for a higher version. There should be a link down below as well if you want to check it out, or just type in finviz.com. But this is actually, I get a lot of cool information. I can screen for stocks very easily here. You can screen on Webull as well. I have some videos on how to screen for stocks on Webull if you want to look those up. But it's pretty, these are the two things, the two go-tos, at least for me recently. Cnet, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about Cnet. Tattooed Chef, I've been holding that guy long. I love it. I'll quickly look at TTCF quickly. Beautiful, kind of consolidating here for the next leg up, in my opinion. So I want to see it holding the low 20s, but a breakout here up towards 30 plus will be what I'm looking at next. Cnet, let's take a peek at Cnet. It just ripped, so I don't personally want to mess with it because it just popped to 475 and then it closed at 3. So just understand that your risk there. Cnet down here, if you can get this thing down here, yeah, here's a better spot. But up on these spikes, I don't, when stocks do this, I don't like playing them, on the spike or right after. I like to give them a couple of days personally to consolidate. And Cnet has the history of these spikes. So, if you're buying this consolidation, you almost know the past few months, like you're going to be able to get out of this thing with profit as long as you're patient. You'll get a spike, don't worry. So this one gives some time personally. That's how I would see it. Let's see. ELYS is one that people have been talking about. Let's peel this bad boy up. Oh, yeah. I kind of like this one, but let's see what, I'm going to see if it kind of pulls back, especially if the market's down. Market's been up so much. If we get some decent dip buys, see if it pulls back, holds maybe $5 as support. If it can't hold 5, maybe it comes down towards like 450 or 4. So maybe that, but I think this could be a good play. This has been, blowing up. So let's let's give it some more time to consolidate, and before it starts making a kind of the next move up. So if it starts breaking back up to the upside over 625, yeah, then it looks like it may be primed for the next leg. GNOG is one as well. Let's see. GNOG. I'm in this guy long in my long term, but it's sitting right here at this $20 area, consolidating here, which is, I think, it's just sitting just fine. No worries in my eyes here for GNOG. 50 SMA has been holding up as support. At least it kind of did on this little wick down. So at some point, I would expect a move at some point here with GNOG, up or down. I like it. I'm bullish on this on Gold Nugget longer term. So I'm holding this guy for a little bit to see what we can get a bigger move. Fubo is one that I think I've been people have been watching for a reversal. Short sellers are in Fubo as well. Fubo holding the 50 SMA roughly, holding the support around 25-ish. Want to see Fubo getting back above 30. It gets back above 30, 31, then it makes a move back up. That's the key. Get back to 30 plus, and then Fubo can, is a go back to the upside. It could be a nice short squeeze. Let's take a peek at how it's, if we can see. This will tell you, FinViz will tell you the short, 41% of the float is short. So 40, that's pretty big. And so why does that matter for those who don't really, may not know what that is? What does that mean? Well, that means that, when there's a lot of shorts, really, I would say over 10% short, it could signal a pretty big short squeeze. Because if people start buying a stock, there's enough buying pressure as it is for just the new people who are like, hey, I like Fubo. They're looking at some research, price targets, analysts, whatever. They start buying in. The stock starts pushing up. Those who are short, who are betting on the stock to go down, right, have to cover eventually at some point. It's like a stop loss, right? So for those who are long, right, we enter a trade saying, hey, I don't want to see Fubo go below, let's say $25. It's at 27. I'm going to cut my loss at 27, right, or 25. So you got to sell. So that's going to aid the short sellers who are already in, and then the stock's going to keep going down, so they're going to make more money. But if you're looking to go, if you're someone who's going long and someone else is short, the stock maybe their number, right, the shorts, stop loss here is $30. Hey, if Fubo gets back over 30, I'm going to have to, cut my short, for a loss or for whatever. Maybe they were shorting it from down here. That's my point, which means they have to buy back those shares that they borrowed to go short. They buy back. That's adding to the buying pressure. They add into the buying volume. The stock pushes up, short squeeze, right? The shorts are getting squeezed out, right? That's what you hear. So that's what I want to see. And I think we can see a pretty big short squeeze, especially because Fubo had this move to 60 plus. So I can see $50 pretty easily. At least $40, I would say, on Fubo if it can break over the 30. KDMN. KDMN, we can pull up. I think we have this little downtrend line. It's sitting at the 50 SMA, so it's going to be a reversal point for KDMN right now. Don't know enough about it though personally, but it could be it's sitting at a pretty key point. When it breaks out of this downtrend, I want to see it hold this area. If it can break back to the upside, great. If it kind of consider keeps coming down, it wouldn't be the best look personally, unless there's some more due diligence behind this guy. Personally, NNDM is looking good. I mean, NNDM is close to $8 that you can get is great. That's that. Let's see. Let me go back through REI, Ring Energy. REI, I believe REI had a big insider buy or had some recent insider buying. Yeah. Why do I say that? Let me pull up REI really quick and show you the insider buy. I believe, right? Scroll down. So here it is. January 5th and January 6th. We had insider buy at 71, a decent chunk of shares bought. About $350,000 worth those 2 days by William Cruz. So that's a pretty good signal when you see that, right? So this thing maybe comes back down and holds support around $1, 1.95 cents maybe. Why am I saying that? Because we have some prior areas right here that were highs. So these areas were prior highs. Maybe that's an area of support that we come back as it was a prior area of resistance, right? So that could be a good dip buy. Or if it comes back down further, that could be a good dip buy because that person bought in the 75-cent range. So yeah, it's already up. So if you can get below the insider buy range, ideally that's great. NAKD, I don't know. It's tough. NAKD is consolidating right now, putting in higher lows. So if we can hold the 30s, great for a move up. Personally, the areas I'm watching is like 40 cents and then 50 cents for NAKD to break back above. We'll see. OEG, yeah. A lot of these stocks with a Biden admin are going to be good. Sorry, that's not OEG. OEG. So what I would love to see for a lot of these stocks, I personally think we need a reset. We need these stocks to pull back a little bit to kind of come back down, build some support, and then we can start picking it up at support levels. I just don't want to be buying it up here. It's straight up, the chart's straight up. So, I mean, if it consolidates at least a little bit, that could be a better spot to buy, at least in my opinion. Looking against the stocks, do you have any tips on where to start? Yeah, I mean, I hope the goal at least is I have a bunch of playlists already, so I hope a bunch of that stuff can at least be helpful in some way. I think YouTube is like your best friend, personally. YouTube is absolutely your best friend to look up how to do this. What's this mean? What's that mean? I mean, that's how I really got going. I did take some courses. I bought some things and to cut my learning curve, but that was just me. That's what I don't recommend people have to do that. That's why I try to keep everything free. I don't want to make people pay for stuff because it's the thing is it's hard enough as it is to become, it's one thing to be an investor long term. That's one thing, and anyone can do that, and you don't have to have crazy skills to be able to do that and to get your 10 to 20% return per year. But the next step is to be able to consistently return like 50 to 100% plus percent returns each year, and that's the name of the game. And to that degree, there becomes an aspect of some sort of skill and mental capacity that you need to there's things you need to understand and to be able to do that consistently. You can do that. People can have crazy years, and when the market's ripping, right? So if you started trading in March, yeah, could you have done 100, 200% this year easily? Yes, I'm sure many people did. But are they going to be able to do that next year and the year after that and the year after that? Probably not. And are they going to be getting caught up and then use those bad habits that they built during this kind of crazy, market run and end up losing on plays and losing a ton of money? Yes. So that's what you want to avoid. You want to be able to avoid that and be consistent. That's why I always say it's the base hits, it's the singles, the doubles, it's the pennies that are adding up, because I'm not someone trying to swing for the fences here and crush a trade for 7,000%. I would love to, but at the end of the day, I'm willing to miss out. For example, a perfect example for me personally, and I don't care what people say. People can do whatever they want with BNGO. It was a stock that when I saw it running up, I was not able. I took it for some overnight small scalps or day trades, but that's it. I didn't swing trade this thing with size, because I'm willing to miss these crazy runs, because these types of stocks, it's like 5% or even less of the penny stocks I trade. I'm willing to miss these crazy runs, but I'm willing to do so to be able to take and capitalize on, for example, I'll just pull up a random stock like HEPA. I'm willing to miss the BNGOs for taking the simple small base hits, HEPA, buying this thing sub 160 and selling it up here over 2. Taking my 30 to 40%, boom, 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 and doing that, being able to consistently find those plays and do that rather than play and getting caught up in the hype and all that stuff with these type stuffs. And then it's a whole mental aspect as well. That's kind of how I see it. So I made a video earlier today on the 0 to 25K. If you want to check it out, that's a great place to start as well. Hopefully that helps on the mental side, ideally. Let's see, GVO. And then we're probably going to wrap things up soon because it's an hour and a half. GVO is putting in higher lows. It's kind of flagging, as we see right here on the daily chart. So let's see, trend line. Trend lines are our best friend, at least my best friend. And let's see, here we kind of have roughly what we're looking at. So GVO, until it kind of falls out of this kind of, pennant shaped consolidation, if it can't hold this, then if it falls back and breaks down below this 380, then I can see it coming down, a decent amount. Then you maybe want to wait for it to settle down a little bit. But if it bounces off this bottom, this higher low here, puts in a higher low, and it breaks back up over $4 or $5, then this thing's going to make a new high, most likely. Let's see. CLSK has been one that's been crazy. What is CLSK? Where is it? Clean Spark. This is nuts. I mean, I remember seeing this bad boy down when it was like, sub $5 back in here, was crazy. I mean, I somewhat missed it to a degree, but this stuff is hot. So I would love for a lot of these types of plays, right? A lot of these, renewables, clean energy type of plays. I would love for kind of a reset. I mean, I think we kind of need it to set up some good entries for the next couple of months. I would hope we can get some of that. Currently have a job, willing to invest $300. The great thing about that is that I started with like 250. I lost thousands of dollars prior, but I started a fresh account when I got into when I got more serious on trading penny stocks like 16 months ago. Started with $250, and it's grown beautifully. Nice, slow and consistent moves. That's it. That's all we're doing. So what I would recommend is, so if you're starting with that much, slowly adding to your account size. So say you start with $300, cool. every month, maybe you add whatever number it is. If it's $50, if it's $100, whatever it is, you just slowly add to the account. And then ideally, right, even if you're going through the learning curve and you're having your tough times and you're losing, or you're having a win, and then take 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back, or you take 2 steps forward and then 1 step back, it's fine, because if you're able to add money to your account, mentally your account should stay the same or slowly go up if you can add money to it. So you're able to kind of not bypass, but you're able to kind of hold through the learning curve. So that's how I kind of see it. We've been going for an hour and a half. Usually I kind of cut it off at around an hour and a half. So I appreciate you guys for jumping in. If you guys wouldn't mind making sure to hit the thumbs up button, that is all I ask. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and pumped for this coming week. We'll see what happens. Take a peek again. Last little peek here at the futures, down about 0.5%. So not that that's like super significant, but I say once futures are down about 0.5%, that could be a decent sign for a red day tomorrow. And we'll see if any news comes out, something happens. We'll see how the market reacts to that this coming week. We're probably going to get some more news. I wouldn't be surprised if some, it seems like every week, even though it's now 2021, something crazy happens. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you haven't seen today's video, or you haven't seen the video that I went over yesterday on some of the top penny stocks I'm watching for this week, check it out. Good, hopefully some good stuff in there, and I'll be making some more updated videos upon what I see going on this week as stuff happens. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.